with me today. I was on earlier and I think I said I'd be back in like a half an hour. So I hope it's been a half an hour, maybe a little bit more. I want to share with you some really interesting news I am learning about my pet finches. First, let's put if we can get the video over here on them. Wait, let me turn them a little bit because they're way over. Come here, sweethearts. Hi. I'm just gonna move you a tiny bit. Yeah, just a little bit. So I don't want to scare them. Now, a couple of things I want to share with you. So I'll leave the camera like that while we're talking, and maybe they'll come and visit us. So a couple of things, the hand warmers. I actually have a hand warmer tucked in, clipped on underneath one of these layers over here. I have a number of layers on them because we've been in the single digits at night, and many nights this past month we had below zero weather, very, very cold. So I've been using the hand warmers. I put them in an old sock and just clip it over where they typically sit and reside in their little nest. That's why this part is covered. They don't like the nest exposed. They like the cage to be, so if they choose to come out here in the open and in the sun, that's what they do. That's what they'll choose to do. And then if they want to be out of your view, they need a way to be out of your view. And they have a complete routine that goes on. It's just absolutely amazing. But one of the things that I've learned about them in the past week or so, actually, is their sound for alarm. They are incredibly intelligent. It's beyond, if I got a parrot, like a large Amazon or something, I would expect that bird to kind of have these behaviors. But I didn't expect my tiny little finches to know me as well as they do and try to communicate different little things, like when they hear the water going, like on the faucet, they'll hear the water. If they want water, they come to the cage and they chirp towards me. Not like a frenzied chirp, just chirp, like they're calling to me they want water. Something that occurred though this past week, and I was telling my family member about it, is so apparently someone was standing outside my window. It was about 2 o'clock in the morning one night this past week. So I had not a clue. I mean, there's no way I would have woke up or saw this. Hi, Anthony Smith. This is about, I'm talking about the finches. And I'm going to give some recipes that I researched a little bit because I looked up the recipes because every single morning it's taken me way too long to put together their food. So I want to share with you some recipes. However, I'm sharing some behaviors on my pet finches. For those of you who are scrolling, if you have little pet finches, whether it's the zebra finch, the Gouldian finch, yeah, or these little society finches, I know they're just adorable. But what I'm talking about is that they sound the alarm. They're like little watchdogs. So I'm talking about a specific occurrence that occurred, incident or whatever occurred this past week. So somebody apparently was standing outside my window. Now, what's weird about that is the way the place is set up is people have if they're going to stand outside, they have a door that they stand outside. Even if they're on the second or third floor, they come down, they have a door. So for someone to come and stand like in front of my window or in front of my door, they'd have to specifically be diverting from their door or their area, and just it wouldn't make sense, right? But it doesn't mean that there was anything negative. However, I want to point something out. When these birds hear noises, let's say from another apartment, there's no sound of alarm at all. Like they know, they can distinguish the sound from another apartment. You're in an apartment building, you're going to hear different little things. It's nothing. So why the other night at 2 o'clock in the morning did my finches sound the alarm? And I mean, they woke me up 2 o'clock in the morning out of a sound sleep. Um, they they were not having any kind of what you call night terror, because sometimes they do, because they have light on them, and it's the same light every night. They're very familiar with it. It totally works. Like if they get hungry or thirsty, they can see. So they sounded the alarm, and they were coming to. They woke me up, and now shortly before that, it was early. It was in the evening before I went to sleep. I noticed that they were a little tiny bit restless, but I didn't think anything of it. But I did hear some very specific noises in the stairwell, in the stairway of this building, but didn't think it. Anyway, so they're quiet, they go to sleep, wake me up 2 o'clock in the morning. So I get up and I'm looking around because I'm wise enough now to know when they sound the alarm, and they sound the alarm when I'm boiling their eggs, when it starts to boil, they sound the alarm. They sound the alarm when someone is burnt, like someone burnt, like I think toast in the building. They sounded the alarm, and guess when I smelled the toast was afterwards. They smelled it first. They sensed it. They knew it. So when I woke up 2 o'clock in the morning, I'm looking around and I look towards the window and I see a shadow of a person standing at my window, at the edge of my window. They were at the edge of my window. These birds were going crazy. So I put the light on, like I put the main light on, and the person, went away. Was the person looking in my window? I don't think so. I think maybe it was someone just standing there. Maybe they were letting, I don't want to say, but maybe they were letting their dog. I didn't see a dog. I didn't hear a dog. I didn't see a leash. But maybe they were just standing there with their dog, or maybe they were standing there having a cigarette. But these guys, they knew there was something extremely different. Could they see the shadow? No, they couldn't. They heard this person, as silent as the person was, standing at the edge of my window. Anyway, super smart. So I feel really a safety factor, like plus, 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 plus with these guys. Because if you have a dog, sometimes the dog isn't going to wake up. If you do have I don't say this was a prowler, it was probably just someone. But if you have a prowler, let's say, for example, um, your dog may not wake up. A cat may not wake up. They may not. I mean, they do sense these things quicker, and chances are they will at some point. But when you have finches, these teeny tiny little finches have millions of years of watching out for predators. They're going to wake up. But so I want to read a couple of things with you before we get to the recipes. It's super interesting, and I didn't know this about. I only looked it up because I'm learning it, because I have them as my beautiful little pets and companions. So yes, finches can act as alert systems, because I looked it up here. Although their alarm is likely a reaction to perceived danger or stress, rather than deliberate attempt to protect your home. It doesn't matter because you know what? They picked up danger. And you know how I know? Because they hear, like I said, they hear noises in the other apartments. They don't act like that. This wasn't even a sound. It was just a shadow I saw of an individual standing at my window. They didn't see it because the cage was all covered up, but they picked it up. How amazing is that? I'm just really, really hyped up about this because I think of it like this. If they're out in the wild and they're in a tree or they're in their nest, yeah, maybe they pick up the fact someone's standing, maybe a couple of 100 yards away. I mean, you got to figure these guys are smart. So they give vocal alerts. The finches may produce alarm calls, which are high pitched, loud, and it is, in such a tiny little bird, and repetitive to signal the rest of the flock. So I'm the flock. You are their flock. Okay? You and the other birds are their flock. You're their family. They know that you feed them. That's something new. So they're alarming you. There's something new and potentially dangerous is present. So I just find it interesting. They perceived the person who was standing outside my window as a possible danger. Now, if it was a possible danger and I didn't wake up and put the light on and I didn't have these birds, would this person maybe been trying to figure out how to get in here? Would they have known maybe I was even in here? I'm just saying, it's very interesting. Physical reaction. They may flutter erratically, fly around the cage, or hop anxiously when someone unfamiliar approaches the window. Ooh, there it says it. Or enters their line of sight. Oh my God. So I mean, they didn't see the window because this cage is pointed the other way towards a nightlight, and this part of it is all covered. But isn't that interesting? So they must have heard this person outside my window, and they knew that because let me just put it this way. If you have a house or you have an apartment, wherever your apartment door is positioned, for example, towards the hall, if at night, 2 o'clock in the morning, someone's standing outside that door, these guys are going to know. You're not going to know. They're going to know. That's what I'm saying. Okay. Behavioral differences. While they may not differentiate a stranger from an owner, they are sensitive to sudden movements and shadows, which can trigger a panic response. So I disagree with that. Let me look this up. This is what I thought. They actually, because I was reading this in another study documentary, that they do know their owners' faces. Here it says, yes, finches recognize their owners' faces and voices. So this is saying up here that they don't know. Excuse me. That's my, sorry, that's my coffee. That's why I have to have it here. This says they often associate them with positive routine interactions like feeding or singing, and they love to sing with me. They, honest to God, they do. While they are generally timid, flighty, and prefer company of other birds over humans, they become comfortable with their owners and even learn to trust them. Absolutely. Sensory recognition. Finches can identify specific individuals, particularly those who care for them daily. Behavioral associations. They often get excited when they recognize signs of food, and that is so true. I came in the other day with some spinach, and I said to them, I said, "Oh, I have a little treat for you. I have spinach," because I had already given them their food and their treats and water and everything. But I was taking out the bag of spinach, and they're like coming over to the cage, chirp, 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 all happy, happy, happy chirp, looking at me and looking right at me with no fear, because that shows they know me. And yeah, it says here reduced fear. Through consistent patient interaction, finches can learn that specific humans are not a threat, reducing natural fear response. Limited interactions, unlike the parrots, the finches prefer to be viewed from a distance and do not typically enjoy. No, they don't. They don't like you to sit there and put your hand in the cage, and like with a parrot, you might put your hand in the cage, have your hand in the cage, and talk to them for lengthy periods of time, which they love. These guys, no. Um, so, behavioral differences. Distinguishing their owners. While they can be nervous, pet finches are often smart enough to recognize their owners' voices and absolutely, they know my voice. They know my voice and they know my face. A stranger approaching the cage or window will often provoke a stronger, more fearful reaction than an owner. Important considerations with your finches. So, stress, an excessive movement or um, staring at them. I mean, you know, it depends. I mean, you may have someone who just loves to watch their birds all day. If you put, like, if you sit in a chair, like they know when I sit in my chair at the end of the day and I'm done working, like on my artwork, and they love it. They go up on their little, and they know when I'm eating. When I'm eating, they'll eat. Like when we first came here, they didn't eat unless they saw me eat. And I noticed it very specifically. When I ate is when they ate, because I was worried that they weren't doing their usual, morning, like diving for their food, because they love their food. And especially when it's fresh veggies and stuff, they'll be checking it out. But and then it was like within a week, then they got comfortable and back into the routine. But they were watching me. They were following me. But you got to remember, I got them as teeny tiny little babies too. So they could be looking at me somewhat as a mother figure. Just saying. Territorial. If the bird is pecking it at, they're talking about, now they're talking about outside finches. Okay, they're talking about outside finches. Okay. So anyway, these are the pet finches. Let's get to so I just wanted to share that with you, that they do sound an alarm, and they do have some like a built-in safety alarm. It's just amazing. So anyway, with that, let's get to the food recipes. So this is AI review. So if there's anything that you question on it, kind of check it out and do some research on it. So one here, it says, so first of all, let me just put it this way. I put in foods that I can prepare and pre-make for my finches, because I'm cooking in the morning. Granted, sometimes I cook at night, but I want their food to be fresh, but I want to be able to give them some easier dishes. So this says this is a recipe. 3 hard-boiled eggs, finely ground, mixed with 1/8 of a batch of homemade egg bread, cornmeal based, or cooked brown rice. So I would stay with the cooked brown rice. So usually I'm putting them side by side. So this says just mix them together, and that way you can just scoop them out. So different other things you can add in this little mixture is finely chopped greens, spinach and broccoli, and a sprinkle of millet or crushed pellets. Okay, so that's really good to know. Storage, check this out, guys. For those of you who have pet finches and you're sick of making their food every single morning, it's taking you forever. You can freeze this in a small 2 to 3 day portion and defrost before serving. That's really smart. So yeah, we can freeze it. So veggie and seed chop. So for those of you scrolling, we're going through recipes that you can put together for your pet finches. So one recipe is finely diced carrots, zucchini, green peppers, broccoli, and kale. Um, I'm going to do that because you know what I'm doing now? I'm giving them, which they love, but I cook like a little broccoli, steam it. Sometimes you can give it to them raw, but give them a little stem of broccoli. They love to just kind of peck at it. So, but this is like just mix the carrots, zucchini, the green peppers, broccoli, and kale. And storage. Mix in small amounts with seed and quinoa and store in an airtight container in the refrigerator. You can freeze this for longer storage. It's kind of what I'm looking for. I want to freeze a lot of this because it's taking way too long, like I said, in the morning. So these are homemade seed and treat bars. I would love to make this for them. So you mix 5 ounces of seed mix with 2 beaten egg whites and a little rapeseed oil. I don't know what that is. I haven't bought that. But prepare to pack it in small containers or grease-proof paper. Bake at 175 to 200 degrees and for about an hour and a half hours until it's that's a long time to cook it, and then store it in a dry place. But that's a treat bar, so it's like not something you're going to be making all the time. I like the idea of making them a fresh treat bar. So dried veggie and herb mix. You know what I find interesting about pet finches, and this is a fact, you cannot be spraying aerosol sprays or cleansers or have your herbal candles. But you know what I find interesting? They love, 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 love their herbs. And those herbs, the scent and the aroma, calm me down. And you know what I figured out? That if they can endure and they love the scent and smell and they eat these herbs, you can use those herbs as a natural air freshener around your home. Okay? I'm going to look into that even more too. So dried veggie and herb mix. Mix the dehydrated greens, carrot bits, and herbs like basil or oregano. This can be stored for long periods and rehydrated or mixed directly into fresh egg food. I'm loving that. So that's something I want to do and I will do because I think that would make it easier for them to eat also. Preparation tips: never add honey, sweeteners, dairy, or homemade mixes, so we know that. Safety: always remove uneaten fresh food egg mix from the cage within 24 hours to prevent spoilage. Definitely remove it. And if they're making a mess, like they make a mess with only specific foods, but it seems to be strawberries because they really do not like strawberries. They kind of kick them out of the dish, and sometimes they're throwing cucumbers around. And I mean, as little as they are, yes, they can move their food. They can take it right off the dish. They can move it. I clean the cage when that occurs. Like, I don't wait 24 hours, okay? It's like every single morning they get a complete cleaning anyway. And then usually midday, if it's a messy or something's going on, I will clean it and tend to. Serve fresh, chop, or separate dishes for dry seeds to prevent rotting. Okay, when I first got them as tiny little babies, I didn't want to scare them with like a separate dish because they were so skittish. So I put, what was it I was first feeding them? I think it was a little bit of cucumber I would like stick it in there seed, and then I learned not to do that because it gathers the seeds and it makes a mess. But anyway, so keep the food separate. Now I want to read to you from this site. It's called Aussie Finch Forum. Now I'm not sure. Yeah, this must be for Pet Finch. Let me just look here. Homemade food. Just want to read the beginning of it. It says, "Hi, I know some people mix food ingredients on their own rather than buying pre-mixed feed. Without any of you would any of you be willing to share your main ingredients in proportion? There's lots of safe foods listed on this site, but it's not saying if it's for pet finches." So let me look at their home. Yeah, it doesn't really say if it's for pet finches or not. So we're kind of not, because there is a difference between the pet finch food and the wild finch food. Tell you what it is. We're going to look it up here. Hi, for those of you who are here. This is the difference. Pet finch food is designed for indoor, less active birds, focusing on balanced nutrition through pellets, seeds, and fortified ingredients to prevent obesity. Hi, billionaire. How are you? I can't read what you wrote, but I can see your handle. Okay, so thank you for being here, guys. So focusing on balanced nutrition through pellets, seeds, and fortified ingredients to prevent obesity and malnutrition. Conversely, wild finch food is formulated for high energy needs, containing higher fat, calorie dense seeds to survive cold temperatures. Okay, so the composition. Okay, and I gotta tell you, sometimes it's difficult to distinguish in the grocery store if it's for a pet finch or wild finches. Many times I always say pet finch, like Katie, pet finch. I couldn't find any Katie. No, I do not. So I would love to, but I do not. And but thank you for asking. So yeah, so the pet finches, the thing about your pet finches is they have to have 50% of food, like fresh vegetable food and fruits. Now I'm noticing a couple of things with my guys. They're not eating certain things that I keep presenting to them that I think, gee, they should eat. They're not eating it. So when I read how they're mixing other foods with egg food, I think that is such an ingenious idea, and it's the way to do it. And it's what I need to start doing. Because typically what I do is I boil the egg, cut it in half, let it cool, put the boiled egg in, and they love to just chomp at it. And they love it. So, but now I'm thinking, so you can't change things on them like dramatically because they're so used to predators, it will take them time to figure everything out. So I think what I'm going to do is continue to put their little boiled egg in, like I do, half egg in. And then I'm going to do a mixture, like what they're saying with the veggies. And, you can just add different little things to the mixture. And I like the idea it can be frozen. So I'm going to be doing that too. But anyway, the key difference is, so, oh, this is interesting. So Another thing, difference between the wild finch food and your pet finch food is that safety and form. The pet food is usually specifically cleaned and fortified for caged birds. It's cleaned, people. Did you know that? And wild bird, so I never would have thought that, but that's interesting. Wild bird food may have a higher variability in quality, in using it for indoor pets can lead to poor nutrition. Now, I wouldn't use it anyway, but I bought them some bird seed because I had gotten to a new location here, and I'm like, oh my gosh. The other bird seed I was using, I was buying from a pet store, and they didn't even have the brand name. They were putting it in bags, and I asked them the brand name, and they still didn't present the brand name to me. They gave me some warehouse name. Well, that didn't sit very well with me, so I went to Walmart because we have so many choices around here. In Vermont, we have so many choices. I say that with love. Anyway, I got some bird seed. It wasn't Katie, it was something else. Anyway, so I've moved a couple of hours south and back to civilization. What I call civilization. And I ended up having a problem finding the same bird seed. So I'm like, oh great, this is not going to be good. I have to actually get them a different, because you're supposed to take a couple of weeks. Let me drink my coffee. A week to a couple of weeks to switch their bird seed, like start blending it. So I took their old bird seed and I'm blending it with this new bird seed, and I'm like, oh man, they're not going to like this at all. They started to love the new bird seed, and it has little fruits in it and whatnot, and they love it. But I hope it doesn't deter from the regular, it doesn't seem to be deterring. I'm watching carefully. It doesn't seem to be deterring from them eating the regular veggies. Like they totally still love their cucumbers. They love their spinach. Let me check here. Yeah, they ate a good amount of their spinach this morning. So they love spinach. I mean, I was trying to not like give it to them every single day because it says don't give it to them every single day. But they look for it. They want it. In other words, they're not so crazy about the other foods. But this morning, um, usually I put 3 items in there, but I noticed they haven't been like eating a lot. And so at least of the food, like for example, um, I put potato in there. Potato and carrots, they just don't go for these things. Potato, carrots, and what was the third thing I put in yesterday? Oh, egg. So they ate their egg. They were really good with that. Um, Even if I mash the potato up and you take the skin off, if you give them potato, but they didn't care for it at all. So, okay, and the egg, so they ate the egg, and yeah, but the carrot and the potato, no. So I'm not sure why, but they just don't like that. So I think mixing it in with the egg might be a nice way to make sure they're getting these other nutrients, because I feel like they need carrots. Like, why are you not eating your carrots? They do love zucchini, and I think it's because it has the seeds, but I've been giving it to them cooked, because when it's not cooked, like I've tried both ways, and they just don't even touch it when it's not cooked. So I give it to them cooked. So key ingredients they're talking about here is pellets, canary seeds, red, white millet, and flax seed. That's for the pet. I'm going to write this down because guess what? I haven't been buying canary seeds. Have you? For your pet finch? Red, red, white millet. Yes, I have the millet. I'm not sure about the red, white. Flax seed, I believe, is already in their seed and pellets. Yeah. So for the wild finch, you want thistle. They love, love, love thistle. Sunflower chips and small millet. Okay. So anyway, guys, oh, so see, I am just looking at this homemade finch food mixed. This is for Australia, and I think it might be for the wild um, finch because they're talking here. Interesting. They're talking here about adding only 10% thistle seeds. So I don't know if it's for pet or not. We're not going to consider it because we don't, it's not clear. But anyway, with that, I wanted to jump on here and just share some of those recipes with you. And they're called egg mixed recipes, and you can freeze them. And I'm going to look for more recipes. I want to actually see if there's a book out there and do a little bit more research on different things that we can make for our little pet finches. So with that, you have an absolutely beautiful day. Share with me if your pet finches are exhibiting any particular behavior that is interesting or you may find as a safeguard. I am very pleased that they sound alarms. I didn't know that they did that. Not quite the way they're doing it. I had not a clue. And they're able to distinguish really well on when that's necessary. So with that, you have an absolutely beautiful day. Thank you for being with me on Vermont Sun and Shade. If you like, give me a like. Subscribe, jump on board. We'll see you in the next one.